Hey everybody, it's Dr. Eric Balcouch. We're back for another edition of Thyroid Thursday, and today we're talking about how emotional fitness could be a missing piece preventing you from having thyroid recovery. So, what is emotional fitness? To me, emotional fitness is the body's ability, or our ability, especially our mental ability, to adapt to life's stressors and maintain a low-stressed homeostatic state. So, what does that mean? That means when I experience all the challenges with the day, that I can take them in, interpret them in such a way that it's not creating more fear, danger, worry cues on my physiology. Because if every little experience creates more danger cues, fear cues, that's going to constantly be upregulating my fight or flight system, upregulating my limbic system. And when I upregulate my cell defense mechanisms, I increase inflammation. When I increase inflammation in the system, I decrease thyroid physiology, and that keeps us stuck in this cycle of chronic inflammation and reduced metabolism and everything else that goes with it. So this is one of the things that a lot of people don't want to talk about when we're starting care. When we think about what's causing somebody to not recover with their thyroid hormone replacement strategy, there's three key things. One, they're being treated as if they're in homeostasis when they're not. They've got an excessive stress load, and they're potentially over-medicating to allow for recovery. But it's the stress load, and emotional health and emotional fitness is one of those key factors that needs to be addressed. And usually it's a thing that people don't want to talk about right away. They just don't feel comfortable talking about it. Maybe they're even defensive when you start to talk about it. So sometimes we can't get into that right away. But ultimately, when we do a health history, do a health timeline with somebody, and we start talking about what's going on in their life, we know that I know the emotional piece is a big piece, and it's something we're going to have to address. So sometimes people get angry when I talk to them about their emotional state and emotional fitness, and they're like, I've got a lot going on. You don't understand. I do understand. Everybody has a lot of stuff coming at them in day-to-day life, but it's not the thing that happens. Stuff happens, and the same stuff can happen to two different people, and for one person, it'll totally destroy their health and well-being. And for the other person, they thrive and do fantastic, right? You have two people in a marriage, and for some reason, they decide to get divorced. One person can be super angry and upset about the divorce, and their health declines. They're chronically inflamed. They have all kinds of health issues ever since they got divorced, because they're constantly thinking about it, they're constantly angry about it, they're constantly upset about it. And that creates this inflammatory state in their physiology. The other person who left the marriage thinks, man, thank goodness I'm out of that relationship. It wasn't good for me. It wasn't healthy for me. And they start to thrive. They start to have more freedom to do the things they want to do. They find somebody else that's really a better match for them, and their health takes off and they thrive. Same experience. Both people came out of the same divorce, but one held on to the negative and looked at it as a negative situation. The other person looked at it as a positive, and they had totally different experiences. So it's not that we're not going to experience negative things that happen to us in life. Our dogs are going to die. Our family members are going to pass away. We may break up with our partners. We may not get the job we want. We may get fired. We may win a lot of money, maybe win the lottery. Stuff is going to happen, but it's not the stuff that's the big deal. It's how we interpret that stuff. And so that's what we're talking about here. It's not the stuff that happens. It's how we interpret it, what feelings and emotions we tag to that experience that influences our chemistry, for the good or for the bad. So here's an example. If we win the lottery, and I think this is the greatest thing, then guess what happens? I'm going to be happy. My physiology is going to improve, and I'm going to improve because I'm releasing these feel-good hormones, and my health is probably going to be either the same or better because I'm in a happier state. This is a great thing. But if I win the lottery and I conceive this as a bad thing. I'm worried about how much taxes I'm going to have to pay, and what am I going to do with the money, and who's going to come after me for the money, and should I tell anybody, and this could be terrible, right? Because everybody's going to try and steal the money. If I start thinking these negative thoughts about the experience, it's a good chance my health is going to start to decline. So it's not the situation, right? It's how we interpret the situation. Same thing, lose a job. I've had a couple experiences of talking to clients they're not sure if they're going to lose their job or not. Now, and they're worried and they're stressed out, right? Unfortunately, they can't change the situation. They may lose their job, but they can change the way they interpret the situation. You could say, I'm going to lose my job. This is terrible. I'm in fear. I'm worried. I'm in danger. I'm worried about where I'm never getting another job. How am I going to pay my bills? I'm never going to get paid this much. I'm never going to find a job I really love. And you can just keep negatively thinking about the situation. And in that situation, their health is going to decline. But if you're the person who can take this negative situation, I'm going to lose my job, you're entitled to your pity party. But it's how long you dwell on it that becomes the issue. But if you have your short-term pity party and then go, hey, you know what? This could be good. I didn't love the job to begin with. It wasn't really paying me what I thought my value was. I didn't enjoy my boss. I didn't really like the commute. I didn't like a lot of things about it. So now I can go out and look for a job, maybe one that matches me better for my skill set, for the income I want, and maybe the situation I want, and that'll bring me more happiness and joy. And maybe had they not ever been fired, they maybe never would have been forced to go look for the better opportunity. And so it's not the situation, right? It's about how we perceive it. That doesn't mean if your family member dies, you should be like, oh, this is great, they passed away. You should be emotional that a family member passed away. But you can dwell on how terrible it is that they passed away, or you can have your moment about them passing away and not being there anymore, but then shift your attention to all the joy and value that they brought to you in your life. It's a choice, okay? So it's not the things that we experience that cause decreased health. It's how we interpret them and the response to them that really makes a difference on whether it helps or harms our health. So how we interpret them determines whether we have increased or decreased health. It determines whether we have increased or decreased stress on our physiology. It determines whether we have increased or decreased thyroid physiology. Remember, if you're in a constant worry or fear state because of good experiences or bad experience, but you still conceive the worst possibilities out of them, it's still going to create a cell stress response. It's still going to create more inflammatory chemicals. It's still going to regulate your thyroid physiology. And how we interpret it does have a huge impact on the signs and symptoms we experience. So what do? Be aware that stuff happens to everybody, but it's not the situation. You can make something good out of almost every situation with the right mindset. But having the right mindset and developing that skill is just like any other exercise. You've got to you've got to practice that. You've got to work on that skill set. It's not innate for everybody. So keep this in mind. A lot of times people are stuck in this chronic negative outlook. It keeps them in an emotionally stressed and tense state, which keeps their physiology in the cell danger state and thyroid allostatic regulation, and they never feel well with their thyroid medication. They never find an optimal level of thyroid hormone replacement to restore their physiology because they're not in homeostasis. They're stuck in an allostatic state. Not because of a bacteria, not because of a virus, not because of a parasite, not because of some food toxicity, but because of the emotional stress that's occurring between the 6 inches of their ears. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, reach out to me through my practice software. You can email me at office@rejuvegencenter.com. And if you need some help with your thyroid physiology, go to the profile link or go to my website, rejuvagencenter.com, and schedule a complimentary discovery call. Take care.